All right, we're back. Tastycrypto Show. I'm Ryan Grayson. With me today, of course, Katie McGarrigle, the wizard of Tasty Trade. It's a hell of a name.
Oh my God.
Moniker.
I love it.
Title. It's a title, right? Yeah.
I guess so, yeah. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm off the video game sauce for now,
but that's a status level, man.
Yeah.
Like wizard level.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a witch. So
Okay.
I'm down for it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm happy to just keep that name forever into perpetuity.
Hey, that's what we'll do here on this show, at least. Katie, as you know, we're streaming live on YouTube. You can watch this show in a variety of places, but if you want to type some crazy shit into the chat, which I think is what it's really here for, get over to the Tasty Live YouTube channel, and I'll pop out the chat.
Let's do it.
Join us, if you will. We got Mark in the house, Emmett, Edward. Let me see who else really quickly. Dylan, what up? Hero.
Hey.
Yeah, I think that's about it. If you're just lurking, give us a shout.
Something.
There's that whole XP crown. If you want to be king or queen, you've got to participate. You could be number one, number two.
I did not know what that was for the longest time.
I'm still figuring it out. I think it's a good thing, right?
Hopefully.
King of the chat.
Brainiac, sup?
Oh, yeah.
How was your weekend at the lake?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was in Michigan for a couple of days, got out of the city, hit up the farm, the countryside.
Love it. Pick some bloobs? Is it too hot for bloobs?
No, there's a lot of blueberry picking going on there. Cherries and other various fruit. Yeah, it was pretty good. Saw some animals. I saw a deer, some turkeys.
Wildlife.
I caught a fish. You know what's up.
Bluegill? Something bigger?
Tiny ass little baby fish.
And you were like, whoa!
Yeah.
This might be Moby Dick.
No, I always get worried because the fish are so small. It's like if they swallow the hook, I just feel terrible.
Yeah.
But no,
it's very invasive for them.
This one, I let it go.
Yeah, catch and release. You're such a humanitarian.
Yeah, something like that. But it's good to have you back on the show, Katie. I want to play some trades today.
Yeah.
Go through the platform. We've been talking about stablecoin funding, new here at Tasty Trade. We've got a lot of positive excitement, sentiment in the market, a little bit of a pullback here. So I think in this environment, this possibly is an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity to buy the dip in a couple of names that we've been trading in and out of. So we'll get to that in just a second. But I don't know. Before we start, what's up with you? What's new? What's on the radar? Brandon says hi.
What's up, Brandon? It's my brother's name. One of my brothers. No, I'm good. I was also outside this weekend. I got a little cooked. I can't see it through the studio lights, but your girl is a lobster right now.
Okay. You don't look bad.
Thank you. Yeah, it's cooled down since yesterday a little bit, but there's a Chicago fitness festival.
Nice.
And one of my friend's brothers actually runs it, so I got a pass, which was awesome. And it's just like thousands of people working out together, all this stuff. But I took a workout class yesterday with Charles Tillman of the Chicago Bears.
Oh, okay. I was like, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so that was really fun. He kicked my ass, I will say. Feeling a little sore on top of the sunburn today.
Weightlifting sort of thing?
It was like a circuit training one.
Okay.
Like they didn't, I'm talking there was like 3,500 people there. So not enough weights for everybody. But yeah, he had us doing all sorts of stuff. We were doing some squats, some high knees, some lunges, some bicycle crunches. We were just doing everything. So that's what I got into this weekend. Did a little bit of Wicker Park Fest yesterday. Probably gonna just kind of keep, riding this summer till the wheels fall off.
Hey, I like your style, Katie. And you've got a wedding upcoming, I believe.
I do, yeah. We're getting down to the wire here. And I'm also internally freaking out about that, as you can imagine.
Sure, but it's all worth it in the end. And then you'll look back and wonder why you were ever freaking out in the first place.
I know, yeah. I've got good people behind me. I just need to keep telling myself that. I hired good vendors.
Strong team,
exactly. But maybe if we buy some stuff today, it can help bankroll that upcoming wedding. So definitely interested in what you're looking at and what you're trying to buy that's looking a little weak or you think has a little more upside to run.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's pop into our performance dashboard. Boom, right there on the screen. And if you were watching OTCL, if you do watch Tasty Live all day long, you might have seen me talk through some of this earlier with Mike and Nick. But again, we're in a structural bull market. There's no signs of that changing anytime soon. If you look at fund flows, this has been a record month, 11.2 billion in ETF flows in Bitcoin and ETH. A big month for ETH, big week for ETH ETF flows. So structurally pretty bullish. Equity market also, if we look at that for a comparison's sake, at all-time highs. I think you're in an environment in which that continues, at least for now. But you could get a dip. You know, you look at ETH, a little bit overbought, slight pullback here. I think you could get 3,600, 3,500. I mean, we're at 3,600 just last week. I'm looking for opportunities there. Also looking for opportunities in, some of the names, if you've been following me on the follow page on the Tasty Trade platform, been trading in and out of Sui, Hedera, a handful of others. We've been buying a little bit of Bitcoin on some pullbacks. Not much of a pullback here today. But if we just take a look around, you see that to some extent when we go to these smaller market cap tokens. So you've got an expansion in volatility. We're looking at 30-day realized vol here in the iVol column. So we really only have implied vols right now for Bitcoin and ETH. But 30-day realized vol, starting to see some expansion in a handful of these, and you're seeing those larger moves then to the downside. But these 18% moves in XTZ or 12% moves in Shiba Inu are coming off of pretty rapid rises over the last couple of weeks. So I think that continues, just looking for a spot to enter instead of chase it higher. One that is on my radar is Sui. And right now, when we put this together this morning, it was at 412. I think I've got a price in the platform of, 397. So that's one that maybe we buy a little bit of today, buy a little bit, $50 or something.
Okay.
Maybe we get a bounce back to 450. I think that does ultimately push on to new all-time highs. But that's one that's on my radar. We'll call out Aave has traded a lot worse than most of the others that we track here. So we track those that are available to trade today on the Tasty Trade platform, always looking to expand that list. But there's about 23 tokens that you can trade here today through Tasty Trade that we're tracking. Not everything, adding to it, of course. But that's one of the weaker of the few that we track. Aave also starting to show some signs of, a little bit of pause there. If that changes, I'll look to add back to that. That's another one that has, at $300 and 65% vol can swing around quite a bit. Outside of that, also looking to kind of just trade the bottom of this Solana range, which is going to be closer to, if we jump over to our 1 week expected moves here, going to be closer to like 175, 170 or so.
Okay.
And I realize I'm jumping around a little bit, but this has been one that's kind of just been trading well within a range. Call it 170 to 200. I think, towards the bottom of this range, given what we're seeing elsewhere, a little bit of relative outperformance week to week and kind of a breakout from a momentum perspective against Bitcoin. That's another that I'm interested in. But Ethereum has been top of mind, front and center for everybody recently. And that's another one where I've been trying to take some positions off, just smaller trades, long ETH call options. Some of the ETH that I've bought and that you can see on the follow page, sold out of that on the way up here. Another one that I'm looking to reload on from a trading perspective outside of, longer term core position, because I do think ETH can go to 10K, but you want to trade around it, in the short term. Yeah.
Like I think I mentioned it last week or the week before. I covered my entire ETH position. So I am
it's time.
Out. So considering what to do there, of course, but I'm also I want to go back to what you said about Aave and Sui. Remind me again, or do you feel like there is, what's the news there? Why? Or is it just rotation?
I have no idea what the news is. Honestly, I'm just trading some of the price action there in Sui. It's one that's pulled back to some of the moving averages that I track. Price momentum via those averages has been positive. It's got a higher volatility. When you look at that chain, there is increasing activity if you want kind of the fundamental perspective there. Increasing volumes on decentralized exchanges on the chain. So I think that's a positive sign ultimately. You want to look at stablecoin market cap growth across chains too. Are more people using it? Yes. So when you have that growth there, it kind of supports the base case longer term. But just from a trading perspective, this is one that's kind of trading. It was 440 as of really last night, and it's back down underneath 4 here today. Pretty strong kind of structural bull trend in place. I just want to buy the dip there with the hope that I'm right. I think all of this stuff goes higher over time. I mean, my opinion here, and I don't think anyone is unaware of this if you've been watching the show, I think Bitcoin gets, to a new all-time high. If we look at some of the charts that have been floating around Twitter, Raoul Pal puts out a piece where they've showed, year over year rate of change of global M2 and how there's a very strong correlation on a lag, about a 90-day lag between, say, the NASDAQ and this measure of liquidity or Bitcoin and this measure of liquidity. And if that holds up, it implies a price closer to 140, 150,000 Bitcoin. I think, you look at ETH BTC ratio, you look at Solana BTC, you get higher prices throughout the cycle. I don't think that we've necessarily seen the top. Doesn't mean that you can't pull back. But again, I think you go higher. All of this stuff goes higher kind of in lockstep. And today I want to own the stuff that looks like it's trading a little bit better. Has a little bit higher volatility. So those are just a couple that I've picked out.
All right. I can get down with that. I'm trying to ask the chat, what are they getting into right now?
Yeah, always curious what's on everyone else's radar as well.
Okay, so with that then, you kind of started to talk about it. Say like I just, something that we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes is asking our customers more questions, which I'm obviously all in favor of. And it's something you and I do when we go on the road together all the time, regardless. But if let's just say I'm in like a $5,000 account, and I'm just starting to dip my toes into this space, like what feels like an adequate trade size just to nibble on something in your eyes if you're in kind of a smaller sized account like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, one way you could break it down is just by looking at all of this and saying, if I want it in crypto, I'm going to allocate on a per token basis and I don't want to take too much risk. I guess in that sense, like, okay, maybe I want 10% in a single position. And these are just kind of rules that I might apply to a more macro approach around portfolio construction.
Yeah,
in the sense that, if you have a $100,000 portfolio and, you're trading across all asset classes, probably am not going to exceed 10% in any single one asset,
right?
Or a single position. There's a couple different ways you can probably break that down. But if I'm just trading commodities, I might have a certain percentage in commodities versus equities, but within that commodity bucket, I might have, 5% in gold, 5% in oil. So not exceeding that 10%. This is just an arbitrary rule of thumb. You don't want necessarily with that approach too much concentration. That said, $5,000 and I want to get into crypto, I don't think you need to shy away from concentration. If you're in much smaller market cap tokens that have a higher volatility and higher risk as a result, definitely have more potential upside. In a bull market, we've seen that play out.
Yeah.
That said, we also have seen an environment more recently where just look at what's on the screen. We'll just use this as an example. If we can switch back over to the dashboard here, we've got Bitcoin up 26% year to date.
Yeah.
Versus that, Doge is down 52%. Now, it's not that you haven't made money. If you bought Doge in the last month, you're up roughly 40%. But relative to Bitcoin, it's it's underperformed, and it's traded at a higher volatility. So if I'm just looking at my first time into crypto and I want to get in with $5,000 or so, I'm probably not worried about it so much or thinking about it so much as like on a per trade basis, but more so I want to allocate towards something that maybe is larger market cap, lower vol, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, with the understanding that you're just not going to get the same returns in Bitcoin at this level versus most likely, in my opinion, ETH, Solana, right? If you think that Bitcoin can go to 150, well, it's 120-ish today, Solana might be able to go to 1,000.
Yeah.
Or let's just be a little bit more conservative, I suppose, to the extent that you can in this space. Maybe it goes to 300, 400. You can double your money there versus in Bitcoin, but you're going to have obviously less downside.
Yeah.
Presumably, in most cases, at least what we've seen kind of historically. But if I'm just putting on a trade, I don't know, like today, if I think, okay, I want to get into SUI, maybe it's $100, maybe it's a couple $100.
Yeah.
I mean, you want it to be meaningful,
Right.
but I also am not going to, I'm not going to advocate for put everything you got into just one of these random tokens and hope it
Explodes.
5Xs. It could.
Yeah.
It feels good, but it could also go down 50%. I don't think we're in a market environment where it's likely to do that. We're coming off of that bottom. And I do think that most alts have probably bottomed. But still today, performance has been concentrated around some of the larger market cap tokens.
So with that in mind, and something that you said a couple minutes ago is, I believe you said you were also dabbling in an Ethereum ETF. Did I hear
was
that?
just trading. I've been trading some ETH. ETH A, it's the BlackRock, iShares BlackRock Ethereum ETF. Been trading some of the options in there, just buying call options. The vol was so low that it made sense.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you is like, now that we have these other like derivative products that are slowly starting to, or I guess rapidly maybe starting to roll out, and knowing that this has historically been like an options-centric network, how do you balance the desire to just want to buy some, cheaper options while also knowing that you may have larger, like long positions in the actual coins themselves? Like, when do you consider a hedge versus when do you consider it adding on to your position?
Yeah, so for me, there really isn't a hedge. This is more so when you want to throw some gasoline on the fire.
Such a perfect visual.
Yeah, I look at it this way. Just really quickly to answer Edward's question in the chat, how does BTC have a year-to-date versus BTC of 26%? So all of this is year-to-date versus BTC, and then we just put the year-to-date for BTC in that column. So it might look a little confusing, but I've got year-to-date, at least at the time I put this together, Bitcoin up 26%, and then everything else on a relative basis against that. So it's not BTC versus BTC, it's just Bitcoin's up 26% year to date.
Right.
What is ETH against that? Well, ETH might still be up year to date, but on a relative basis, down 12% against that 26%. So underperforming. That said, back to your question, look, I think that nowadays, as it's become a lot more liquid through the ETFs and the options on those ETFs, and that didn't even exist up until recently, but with something like IBIT and other Bitcoin ETFs or ETH and other Ethereum ETFs, I look at trading those options as a way to express a view, a short-term, very speculative view on vol more than anything, or to, again, throw a little gasoline on the fire. That's in addition to my core position, which is a longer-term investment in crypto. There are trades at times, and I think there's an argument around you don't really need any leverage, and I would generally agree with that, right? If Bitcoin was at 75 in April and you look at that as an investment, you bought it, it's at 120 or so today, that's a good trade. You don't really need to pile on a bunch of leverage there, given that downside volatility does exist at times. But if you look at the market that we're in right now, where the IV ranks, and let's just jump over to this for a quick view on it here, and you can obviously both buy and sell these options, so it's a way to trade the vol more than it is the spot price. But if you look at an environment where Bitcoin vol is coming off of a one-year low, really coming off of a multi-year low, same thing with ETH, and you have realized volatility that's fairly low, I think there just presents an opportunity at times to take a shot, right? I mean, it's not a long-term investment when you buy a 7-day call option.
Right.
But if you're looking at price momentum, you're looking at low volatility, and you're assuming, right, you have to be right on the trade idea, but you're assuming that you're going to get an expansion of volatility, I suppose you can express that by just adding to your position in the hopes that both vol and price are correlated. But if I'm looking at this and I want to express a pure view on volatility, I just want to buy the call options.
Yeah, of course.
Or if I want to lever up in that other sense, I can just buy the call options.
Yeah.
Or on the downside, maybe you do want to hedge. It would be a pretty cheap time to hedge. I think structurally, the trend in the market is moving higher. It doesn't mean that you can't get something that upsets the the apple cart, so to speak. But that to me would be more tied towards the macro and the correlations with equities and other risk assets. And again, that could come from anywhere. We've just gone through a period of volatility. We're coming out of the other side of that. So I don't think there's much of a downside trade there. Maybe you want to carry that hedge. It's just, can be a little bit of a drag on your performance. But that's where I would think of using the options.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Because I just this space is obviously constantly evolving. There's going to be more ETFs that roll out. There's going to be more ETFs that are supporting some of these like smaller market cap coins, right? So I'm just trying to think ahead as to how people will start to approach this and start to integrate this into their portfolio. But I think what I'm hearing and what we talk about on this show all the time is just control your size, right? That's the name of the game at the end of the day. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you want to learn the price dynamics of these things, there's absolutely ways that you can do that. And that is something I've really enjoyed about this whole process with you is being oh, I can just buy $100 of Bitcoin on a Friday. And I don't have to be very beholden to a specific contract size.
Yeah. And that's another great point that you bring up, right? If I'm going to consider an investment or a trade in the options or the ETFs, that works. It gives you portfolio exposure. And for some people, that's perfectly fine. I think, again, the options give you a unique way to express a view on volatility. But there are only two ETFs in terms of the assets, Bitcoin and ETH. There's really options more recently on ETH and previously just on Bitcoin. Anything else that you want to trade is in a spot market or a perp market outside the US. You're seeing more futures kind of pop up. Hopefully we can offer those on the platform at Tastytrade as well. But these
I just love the idea of also calling them perps.
Yeah.
Perps. Perpetrators or
perpetuals.
Yeah.
But the ETFs don't trade 24/7. And these markets can be wildly volatile at times when the traditional markets aren't open. I think you do see the traditional markets move towards 24/7. But the only way to trade outside of that or to trade anything other than Bitcoin or ETH is to trade spot or to trade futures and perps that might be available on some exchanges. So that's how I would think about, again, Bitcoin, ETH, spot versus ETF. Okay, maybe there's some unique characteristics to the ETFs and the options more so. But outside of that, there's no SUI ETF,
right?
SUI or whatever we say.
Let's
buy a little bit of that before we wrap things up.
Let's do it.
This will be our first trade live. And for anybody that wants to trade crypto at Tastytrade, all you need to do, if you have an eligible account, what I mean by that is you have an individual cash or margin account. We're looking to bring this to more accounts, but individual cash or margin account, you need to go to your trading preferences in the manage section. So you go to my accounts, go to trading preferences, and you just have to enable crypto trading with our third-party crypto service provider. That's Zero Hash. So you click that, and it'll eventually say enabled, as mine does here.
Beautiful.
But I want to trade a little bit of this, down 7.9%, maybe a little Pepe too. That might be interesting. But I'm going to click buy, and we're going to make this really easy. We're just going to put in a market order here. And the way that I want to do this is a dollar amount. We're working on dollar amount limit orders, but right now dollar amount is simply a market order. And you know what, Katie? Let's just buy $100 worth of this right now at the market price. And we're filled. So
bada bing.
Bought that at $3.97. I'll push that out on the follow page in just a second. In terms of a price target, I'd like to see this get back up to, maybe 450 or so. If we look at our 1 week, one standard deviation expected move based on the realized 30-day volatility, we've got a top end of that weekly estimated move of 465. We get up there, I'll take the trade off. Pretty decent little return there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, something that, have we teased to the team what's coming in terms of other crypto-based features?
We've talked about stable coins recently. So stablecoin funding is now available. And also I can show everybody where to find that really quickly. We go back to that manage tab. This time go to my money and go to deposits. And here you go, stablecoin deposits. You do need crypto enabled on your account because this is serviced or facilitated by Zero Hash. So you can deposit stable coins 24/7, 4 different tokens, and that buying power is immediately available. So that's kind of cool if, one, you want to trade crypto on the weekend, there's no other way to get money into the account, Or you want to trade futures Sunday night or just any time, it's convenient to use a stablecoin. There's an associated fee with that, but it is 24/7. It is instantaneous, immediate buying power. So that's something we're excited about. We've got withdrawals that are coming. So you'll be able to acquire stablecoins with fiat. And then if you wanted to move that out, use it in DeFi, use it on chain with a self-custody wallet like Tastycrypto or another wallet, you'll be able to do that. Recurring purchases.
That's what I was hinting at.
Coming soon in testing, as I understand it right now.
Yeah,
I think I understand it.
Which again, like I just like the idea of it's great to be actionable in a DIY, trader who's like always on. But even in the chat, they're saying like I like not being able to trade on the weekend. There's less stress, but there's now like going to be a happy medium where you can have these recurring buys. Where sure, maybe you don't want to trade on the weekend, but like maybe you still want to nibble weekly on a coin or a stock or something like that. So it's just kind of a way to like keep adding to your position and, changing your dollar cost average over time and just kind of seeing how that shakes out for you.
Exactly. Cool. And this will be the precursor to recurring purchases for equities. So to your point, and I think you look at the historical performance, it's been very volatile, but if you've held any of this stuff, and this is true for equities over longer time frames as well, it's up and to the right. It doesn't mean that it always will be, but you can turn on recurring purchases if you usually go in like myself and maybe you try to buy $50 a week of Bitcoin because you think it's going to go higher over time or any other crypto. You can automate that process. There are recurring deposits, so cash deposits right now, you can set those up so that you're always just drawing from your bank account on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis. Now you can add that purchase component to it and automate the whole thing, kind of have this pseudo allocation process or automated allocation process that's coming soon. So recurring purchases, we've got more tokens. We're working on transfer support for more assets. You can't transfer in and out all crypto assets right now. Bitcoin is a popular one. ETH is a popular one. We've had a lot of requests or feedback to support XRP deposits and withdrawals. So that's something that we're working on. Recently we added Solana, so you can transfer in and out Sol. But a lot of people, from what I've seen, it's largely Bitcoin transfers in addition to the stablecoin deposits now. So
and TradingView coming, it's soon too, right?
Yeah, we've got some integrations we're working on there. A redesign of certain areas of the platform. So pretty soon you'll see a new order ticket on mobile. You'll see some of the branding in there change a little bit, look a little bit more like the Tasty Trade platform from what it does today. So I've got some good changes coming and a lot more that I can't speak to just yet, but I'm probably more excited about, but I can't talk about it at the moment.
Yeah. Well, you got to breadcrumb people. You got to keep them coming back for more. Yeah,
next couple of months should be pretty exciting just for platform updates, whether that's on mobile or web or desktop.
Good. Love it. All right. Well, don't have my platform up, so now I have to go and jump and buy my Sui, however we're saying it now. I'm excited. I'm about to jump in and add this to my own portfolio.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll push that on the follow page and we'll see. If it goes a little bit lower, you've got some room to add. The 1 week, 1 standard deviation move in there is also down to 359. So it's volatile, 53-cent expected move, but hopefully we'll get some more trades out this week as well.
Let's do it.
Cool. Well, Katie, as always, thank you for coming on the show and gracing us with your presence.
You're welcome, my son.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Wizard Katie. I'm learning. I'll be back on Wednesday with Dan Cecilia. We're going to be talking about some of the recent Bitcoin and crypto treasury companies that have been spun up. You've seen a few go public via SPAC. So there's some exciting stuff going on there. There's premiums in these and maybe some ways to trade volatility around them. For those that have options, we'll also be talking about some of the companies that are adding crypto and not just Bitcoin to their balance sheet and look at the performance impact there and have a nice discussion in addition to everything else that we try to go through from a performance perspective and updating everybody on what we're seeing in the markets. But that'll be on Wednesday this week. Katie will be back with me next Monday. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Until then, I'm Ryan.
I'm Katie.
Peace.
Thanks.